The Houston Rockets just might have the best young core in the NBA. You have players like Jalen Green, Josh Christopher, Alfred Şengün, Kevin Porter Jr., and their potential second overall pick. How can the Rockets improve this offseason, and how can they get back into contention? What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 4 of the Box Out Podcast. Thank you for all the support. As I've said before, I'm back home, so I like to be shooting these every week. So if you have a favorite team, just go down to the comment section below, comment it, and hopefully I can cover it for the coming weeks. Without further ado, let's hop right into the topic. Now, the Houston Rockets are in an interesting place. In fact, the whole city of Houston is in an interesting place with sports as of late. You have the Astros cheating scandal. You have Deshaun Watson and all his sexual harassment trials. You have the Houston Rockets who lost James Harden and were forced to go into a rebuild. Just a whole lot of stuff has happened to the city of Houston. It's kind of been in shambles the past couple of years. Now, while all those teams are still in shambles, the Houston Astros have come back. They made another World Series, I think legally. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. There might be investigation, but as far as we know, they went to another World Series legally. And the Houston Rockets actually have finally developed some of their talent that they drafted after the James Harden trade. Coming into this season, there's not that high of expectations. This is a young team. I don't think they're looking for playoff contention. I just think they're looking for development for the young guys and maybe a chance to get Victor Wembanyama in next year's draft. But going into this offseason, let's look at some of the outset. Now, with the cap space situation, it could be $0 million or $20 million. Now, that all depends on if they buy out John Wall or not. Now, John Wall has a $47 million player option. And, if I were you, I would probably accept that. He's not worth that as a player right now. And, just get your $47 million and be on your merry way. So I think once he accepts that player option, I think the Rockets will buy him out and let John Wall play for another team. So I'm expecting them to have $20 million. Their needs, they need everything except for a starting shooting guard. They have their starting shooting guard in Jalen Green, a great offensive talent and definitely a piece for the future. But just a lot of the other pieces just need to be developed. Going into the season, the only notable free agent is Dennis Schroeder. You can let him go. He's not that big of a piece, and nor do I think that the Rockets are going to keep him. He just doesn't fit their timeline. But going into the season, the Rockets have some very big decisions. They have this. Sorry, I said the second overall pick in the beginning. It's the third overall pick. So they're behind Orlando, and they're behind Orlando, and they're behind the Oklahoma City Thunder. There are 3 guys in this draft that everyone kind of concludes that they're the top 3 guys. You have Jabari Smith Jr., Chet Holmgren, and Paolo Banchero. Now, those 3 guys, at least 2 of them are going to be gone. As I said in my Magic video, I think Paolo Banchero is going 1. I think Chet's going to go 2. That just seems like a Thunder pick. And who I think the Rockets will be left with is Jabari Smith Jr. Now, Jabari Smith Jr. is probably the best two-way player in this entire draft. Jabari Smith is an excellent defender. He can guard 3 through 5. Excellent shooter, too. 40% on his catch-and-shoot three-pointers this past season at Auburn. And I just think he fits that system. Could you imagine Jalen Green throwing lobs to Jabari Smith or kicking out to Jabari Smith in the corner for an open 3? That's just going to be an electric Rockets offense. And I think Jabari Smith is a power forward for the future. Now, with the selection of Jabari Smith, that brings a question over to Christian Wood. Now, Christian Wood is great. He's a great starting power forward. Averaged about 20 points. Really good player this season. But really, he doesn't fit the timeline. And I think a lot of other teams would be willing to pay a hefty price for him. And so let's just explore some trades. I think the team that would like to get him the most is the New York Knicks. Now, they can offer Cam Reddish, Evan Fournier, and maybe some draft compensation in there for Christian Wood and David Nwaba. Now, the Knicks do this because Christian Wood adds extra star power to that Knicks team and opens up a max slot for the team moving forward. Now, the Rockets take on Evan Fournier's bad contract for the chance at Cam Reddish. Cam Reddish, he was an okay player. People still think he can be a superstar. He has some untapped potential, and hopefully the Rockets can tap into that. For me personally, I don't see it. Cam Reddish is just underperforming. He doesn't have the mindset to be performing at that level in the NBA. But the Rockets, they have time. They're not in playoff contention anytime soon, so I believe they're going to take a chance on Cam Reddish. Now, this is not the most exciting video of all time. Houston Rockets are a rebuilding team. They're not looking for playoff contention, and they're kind of just looking to develop their guys. So I think with the acquisition of Jabari Smith Jr., trading their pieces like Eric Gordon, maybe for some picks, Christian Wood, some of their older pieces, and just going young and going full on into the rebuild, developing their pieces, they can eventually be a championship contender in the future. Well, that's all for today. Thank you all for tuning in. Jason, I know this is for you especially. You wanted to see a video about your Houston Rockets. So shout out to you. Thank you all for tuning in, and I hope to see you next week. Peace.